Hello, my name's Steve Smith and I work here at Tanberg in the education team, and today I want to give you this short video guide to the key features of a successful distance tuition suite. The first thing that you're going to notice about this distance tuition suite is that I have dual cameras. If you notice, I have one up here behind me, and I'm also talking to the one here in front of me on which I'm recording. So let me show you what that looks like to me right now. So there, what you can see is a screen where I can see that I'm being recorded, where normally I would see the students that I'm teaching, or in fact the teacher training that I do, I would see the teachers there. And underneath it you can see a camera that's turned to one side right now, which would point at me. So let's bring that back to me now. So now I'm looking at that camera and I'm recording in that camera. Obviously I'd normally be delivering interactive lessons through that camera. So I have two cameras here. So the first one there, obviously important, it's where I deliver tuition to, where I speak to people. It allows me to stay here in a fairly natural position in front of my smartboard. But I use the second camera as well, and let me show you why. If I change to that camera angle now, and come into this side of the classroom, I can change the room around, so that now I have the ability to create discussion. I don't want to create barriers between the different students that I have, those that are local here with me, and those that are in remote locations that I teach at distance. So I can still create the ability for us to change the room around and create some discussion. If I finish just teaching a point, maybe 10 to 15 minutes of teaching, and move to a point where the students perhaps doing some group work, again I can use this layout while I'm working with students here, and also to talk to the students that are doing group work in other locations. At the point at which I'm ready to bring it back to a teaching situation, I can do that very simply. I can change the room back so that I'm now in this position. So key feature number one for a successful distance learning suite is going to be that dual cameras and dual screens, the ability to work from different angles. The next thing that I'm going to show you is that I have some preset positions. So you've seen two of those already, preset position 1 here in front of the smartboard, preset position 2 there in discussion mode. But let's say that I want to work with another piece of technology. I can also click and bring myself over here to the document camera. So, or in fact, into a close-up moment at the end of a lesson when I want to spend some time just to focus with the students for 4 or 5 minutes. Just at the end of a session I want to cut out all the superfluous kind of visual imagery that might be distracting and just get their focus on me for a few minutes. So that's another feature as well, accessing presets. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to share my document camera here with you. There you can now see my document camera. I'm just going to place my remote control that I'm using. So it's also, aside from having these presets, it's very important that we can access them simply without a great deal of fuss or effort. We don't want to complicate the teaching process. In fact, we want to keep it as natural as possible. So here I am sharing my document camera with you, and I can show you that these 5 buttons that I'm illustrating here with my finger are the 5 buttons that I'm using to move around the room. So let's just see that in action. If I click this button here, it goes to our smartboard. If I click this button here, into discussion. If I click this button here, it's going to bring you back to me. And then finally, that close-up section there that I showed you before. The 5th one here is what I used earlier on to show you the camera. There you go. So you can see that reverse screen. Let's just come back. So, having shown you the document camera, that leads me very neatly to the next feature, which is quite important in these suites, or to create a good distance learning situation where you can deliver tuition to students outside of your own organisation. I've shown you that I can share a document camera, but we need to integrate all the tools that you use in the classroom on a regular basis. There's something that's very common are interactive whiteboards. I'm using a smartboard here today, but it could be any kind of interactive whiteboard, or just a display that you're using maybe in conjunction with a laptop through a projector. But one click, again, and I'm able to share this content with you. So you can see there I've got a slide there with a rotating globe, and I'm able to share that with you very simply. So just to illustrate, I can look here and I can see this region 1. I can ask the students where that is, what it is. I can make the notes on it as I would normally. And just use the technology in the way that people are used to seeing it. So we're not asking teachers to depart from their normal way of working. As far as possible, what you're looking to do when you create these spaces is actually create a space that integrates very much with the way that they're already delivering content. So Nice and simple. What I'd like to do as one final step is just give you a little bit of food for thought. So those are some of the very basic things that you would need to consider. So if you're looking for this kind of solution, think about dual cameras, think about integrating the technology in the room, think about having it very easily and flexibly managed to allow you to move from point to point around the room and access the different areas of the room you might use while teaching. The last thing I want to show you is a little bit of a thought for the future. What I have here is something called a composition tool. And we wouldn't ask a teacher to use this composition tool necessarily, but it is a tool that could be very useful to them in terms of creating quite immersive experiences for their students that are in remote locations. So right now, for example, if I pick up my personal computer on my composition tool, you can now see that's appeared up here to my right, sorry, to my left, I beg your pardon. If I then open up my if I then open up a video, you can see that I've shared that video.
Have you?
But essentially I can say, okay, I'm going to play you a clip, I'd like you to watch that clip, and when we're done, we can move.
Miss you tonight.
And obviously it comes through in form of media.
Yeah, the board is burnt out, so if you can't send out some replacements soon.
Let's just close that down. What else can I do with this? Well, we could go further. We can create even more immersive layouts. So these kind of composition tools could be very key. For example, if you want to create a layout that's suitable for teaching a more complicated subject like catering or engineering or perhaps even hairdressing with multiple cameras. I'll bring my document camera in and the main camera. As a teacher now, with all of these four things being displayed on the screen simultaneously, it's very easy for me to know that down here is my document camera, over here is my PC, and in that corner there is the students. So I can very quickly say to students, okay guys, what I'd like you to do now is just pay attention to the right here, to the PC, and I'm now going to show you a video over there, so just pay attention to that. While that's playing, or after we finish with that, let me just pause it there. What I want to do is I want to actually take perhaps an illustration from now. I can hold up perhaps a real-life example of it, and I can place it under the document camera, taking my hands essentially from here and reaching into the screen underneath to show it to them. So we can create quite immersive environments for them. And then perhaps I can direct the class down here to give feedback. So, class down there, class that are local here with me, I'd like you to now start that discussion with the rest of the group. So we can create these very immersive things through a composition tool. And that concludes this short video guide. To sum up, the points that we've covered are dual cameras, dual screens, integration of technology, flexible access to camera presets, and perhaps composition tools as well, where you want to create slightly more complicated teaching environments. One other thing to note as well is the ability to share that content, if you like. So for example, our smartboard here, nice and clearly, and with a very smooth frame rate in terms of actually sending that across. So that all of that content is as natural for the people you're teaching remotely as it is for the people here with you locally. Thank you very much.